Our topic for today is still we continuing on substantive test of transactions. Our main focus here will be on income statements. Okay. So the first one we focus on overall substantive test. Then the second part, so including analytical procedure. The second part is all about accounts in balance sheet. Now accounts in income statements. Okay, so that's the focus today. All right, so you have to be mindful that when you're auditing balance sheet accounts, that actually have an implication on income statement. So, for example, if you're auditing accounts receivable, that is related to sales. Okay, so which means part of audit work in sales had been already or been conducted in auditing or while auditing accounts receivable. So, am I clear? So with regards to inventory, if you're auditing inventory, that also will have an effect on cost of sales. Okay? But it's not enough for you to just stick on and focus on balance sheet accounts. Because income statement accounts may have a different assertion that you need to test. Okay, so last time, particularly on balance sheet accounts, we talked about assertions, okay, those existence, occurrence, and mistakes. Now, income statement also will have that, but it may be different. Okay. So, for example, as I mentioned about accounts receivable, our focus there will be assertion, existence, and valuation. But when it comes to sale, that is different. Our focus there will be occurrence. Okay. Why? We need to know whether the sales really happened. Right? So we cannot just say the sale valuation is or the sale amount is accurate. Okay, accuracy is one thing, but occurrence is another. Which means, as an auditor, we need to find out whether the sales they recorded is actually they all actually incurred or occurred, okay, or happened. Same thing with expenses. In expenses is a different position there. Okay, so while in expenses. So liability will be related to expenses. For example, salaries expense and salaries payable. Okay, clear? So, but then again, you cannot just focus on the salaries payable because you still need to focus on the actual expense. Okay. So, am I clear? So, while you're doing balance sheet accounts, part of the work in income statement has been done, but not enough. So, which means you still need to do the audit on income statements. So again, the ISA 315 and 330 framework is still the same. The auditor must obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence to respond to assess risk of material statements. So our work in as an auditor is to focus on material accounts. As we know, revenue or sales will be a material account. So automatically you have to audit sales. Am I correct? I'm saying that? Okay. So and then if you are engaged in merchandising or trading and as well as manufacturing, you need to audit the inventory or the cost of goods sold or cost of sales. Okay. Then when it comes to expenses, we need to determine which accounts or items there will be material. So you will use qualitative and quantitative approach. Okay, so remember, so qualitative is the easiest. Okay, if you're good at Excel, you just have to sort it. Okay, from highest to lowest or largest amount to smallest amount, sort it, then maybe cut something. Okay, up to this point, I will have to do detailed audit. Up to this point, maybe some testing only. Okay, clear? So that's your aim. Okay, material class of transactions. And then, so we have different approaches in testing accounts or income statement accounts. One is substantive analytical procedure, which I have actually presented to you last time about the revenue, how to anticipate how much will be the revenue expected from the transaction. You have to multiply this and this and this. Okay, last time I discussed. One of those are favorites, okay, auditors, which when it comes to income statement accounts will be test of details. Again, coming back to sales. If you want to check the occurrence of sales, you'll check invoices. When you check invoices, what you're doing, you're checking who's the customer, how much they sold, when it was sold, okay, any discount applied, is it GST, these things, okay, and then you have to multiply, okay, is that the correct amount? So those. That is what we call test details. It says vouching back to supporting documents. So you'll start from sales account, so sales ledger. So from sales ledger, you will place it or vouch it to sales journal. Then after sales journal, you will have the idea of how many invoices that they issued. Okay, clear? They are on the process. So from sales invoice, now you will get the details. Normally, if it is just a plain sale, it may also include some receipts. Okay, so you have to check, cross-check, and then determine whether that's correct. Now, in terms of verification, particularly on expenses, we just have to find out if they classified it properly. Okay. I would assume you studied financial statements before, right? Am I correct? And you, especially in principles of accounting, you have discussed about this is belonging to sales and this will belonging to general and administrative expenses. Remember that? Office expenses, sales expenses. So your role as an accountant in trying to determine the presentation and disclosure is just to know whether they charge it at the correct classification. For example, if the client is paying sales commission, so we will expect that sales commission will be part of the selling expense, right? Am I correct in saying that? Yes? No? Yes? Sports mode already? Okay, so. Alright, so it should be classified as selling expense, right? Okay. Another one, doubtful accounts expense. In which classification it should come? Is it selling or administrative expense? Doubtful account expense. Remember, you just finished it last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago, most likely. Okay. So, doubtful accounts expense is related to what? Receivables, right? And receivables will only happen when there is a sales. So, doubtful accounts expense should be classified as sales or selling expense. Clear? Okay, so there should be proper classification. That's the importance of knowing the classification. Why? Because when someone reads the financial report, they need to know how much expenses they spend on selling, how much the expenses they spend on operation or administration. Okay? Clear? Anyway, that will be your work in the future. You need to ensure that the reports are properly presented. Okay? Accountants, auditor, of course, you need to check whether they did it right. Now, and remember when we talk about risk, hopefully you still remember audit risk. Audit risk, inherent risk, control risk, detection risk. That will be part of the question in the exam. Okay, so the amount of evidences and how, or also the extent of what we will do in that account will depend on the risk. Remember, the higher the risk, the more evidences that we need to collect. Okay, so still that AR, CR, IR, CR, DR will still be useful. And also the timing. So we'll talk about it. Okay. So when it comes to extent, how many evidences or what is the quality of evidence that we need to collect? Okay, so that will play a big role. Okay, so the risk will be playing a big role in determining how many evidences and what is the quality of evidence that we need to collect. The riskier, the more evidences, the high quality evidences that you need to collect. Okay, clear? Clear? So low risk, don't spend so much time because it's low risk anyway. So. And remember, I'm just reviewing the timing. The riskier the account, the closer the audit should be done to year end. The low risk accounts should be audited maybe a bit very far from the year end date. Okay, clear. All right. So already mentioned this. I want to emphasize this one. If you're auditing in the future and you've seen that there is an internal audit division on that company, okay, your client. I would suggest for you to evaluate first how strong the internal audit will be, and also how competent and how the independence has been protected in internal audit. Why? Because the more or the stronger the internal audit will be, the lower number of procedures that you need to perform. Why? Because the internal audit basically is same with what you're doing as an external auditor. Okay? So if the internal audit is strong, you can rely some of the work that you need to do as an auditor with their work. Okay, clear? That is what we call leveraging internal audit work. Clear, future auditors? Content this week. Okay. Students are not really focused. Since Monday, I'm expecting tomorrow will be a different also. You practice later for your sports team. Anyway, okay, so revenue. So we'll go on in details. Okay, on accounts. So we'll start with revenue or sales. Okay. Normally sales will be riskier because you know sales it has so many transactions every day, right? So just imagine like Stop and Shop or your favorite 9 Mile Plaza. Okay. Every lunch you're going there anyway. Or LSA now it's much closer. Anyway, so sales happening so many times in this establishment. One of the reasons why you will tag an account to be risky is because of the number of transactions. So take note of that. In the future audit work that you will have, that is one of the basis of the risk. The number of transactions. Okay, so sales automatically will be on that. Now the high inherent risk will be associated with revenue recognition. When they are recognizing revenue, or how they are recognizing revenue. Okay, I know you studied principles of accounting and currently you're studying financial accounting. We know that in accounting we're using accrual method. Okay, am I correct? Or they changed the method already? Okay, so accrual method. So no, that's default accounting method. Accrual method. They can change it on cash basis, but the default is accrual. Okay. Now, we know in accrual, we only recognize revenue when you feel so. When you deliver the product. Am I correct on saying that? When you deliver the product, or if you are a professional service provider, when you provide the service. Correct? We are not talking about the cash. Because cash is not really a main indication of revenue recognition. As long as you deliver the product or provided the services, you recognize revenue. Am I clear? Okay. Now, I want to ask you, before that, anyone who has maybe owning a construction firm here, if you own, or maybe your parents operating a construction firm, or relative, okay, if you have, now my question is, you know that in construction, it will take really a long time to complete a project, right? It will maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Okay. Now the question is how they are recognizing revenue every or on year end, because you remember we need to report every year end or prepare the financial report every year end. So how they are recognizing it? Remember you said accrual. What you said in accrual when you deliver the product. When you will say in construction firm they deliver the product. When they completed the project, right? Okay. But project will take long time. Clear? So so you have to report it on year end. So we have to think about and look into the standards, accounting standards, how they are recognizing revenue in these cases. This is one of those exceptions in accrual. Why? Because remember in accrual you need to deliver the product to recognize revenue. But how about these construction firms? These are one of those exceptions in accrual basis. So what they will do is, instead of waiting for the project to complete, allot the percentage of completion to recognize revenue. Okay, clear? That is what we call revenue recognition. That is the risk. Okay. The company might be tempted to recognize the whole project as revenue. Wait. Possible. That is the temptation. Okay. Remember, because they need to report and they need to provide a good profit report on the financial statement. They might be. I'm not saying they will. They might be tempted to recognize the whole revenue, wherein it should be recognized bit by bit for 3 years. Clear? So that is the risk. Am I clear on saying that? Okay, so got the idea on that? There is another one. Okay, so another one. And this is related to cut-off, right? Assertion cut-off. In assertion cut-off, it says the sales or the transaction that's supposed to be recorded on that particular period has been recorded on that particular period. Those outside should be recorded on the next period. Okay, clear? Okay. If the sale is happening between, let us say, 28 December till 3rd January, the transaction, and you know that it's busy season for stores, and you don't know, okay, even the staff are a bit confused on, so sometimes instead of giving 10 kina, they may have given 20 kina, okay, so many transactions happening. Now, the cut-off problem will happen, or cut-off assertion will happen, or be tested there. Because sometimes the sales is kind of mixed up. Remember, maybe they're not closing the records right away because of the busy season. So what happened might be like this. So 28 December till 3rd January, they just collected all the revenue and then figure out which one is belonging to 31st December and earlier, and then 1st January to 3rd January. That might be a problem. Okay? We're not saying they are intentionally doing that, but that is risky. Risk of material misstatement. Clear? So many transactions. Okay? Even as, for example, if we are pressured to mark your paper, okay, how many of you here? In my record for auditing, it's 130. Okay, 130. And then, if I am required to finish the marking till maybe 2 days, do you think that I will have a quality marking? No. Okay, so what I will do is all of you will become HD only on that month. Rubric 5. Next. On an average, for 1 hour, I completed maybe, let us say, 30. Okay, so 5. Am I clear? Because of the number of transactions, there might be error, misstatements. Okay? Clear? So that's what I'm trying to emphasize here. Another thing, be aware of any indications of fraud. Sales is one of those accounts that is really tempting to manipulate. Just like what I've said, 28 December to 3rd January. The client can always say the 1st January to 3rd January sales can be recorded 31st December to boost up the sale. Clear? It's tempting. Okay, so that's why as an auditor, you have to be aware. Okay, as mentioned, manipulation of figures and fraud. Okay. Because sales will affect the profit, right? So the profit, if higher the sale, the higher the profit will be. Okay, am I correct? I'm saying that. So it's really tempting to manipulate or change the figures in sales. So we have to be mindful about that. Okay, and we can say maybe they are pressured to hit the target. Okay, so that's why they are trying to change the figures. So what you will do as an auditor, you perform substantive analytical procedure, not only simple multiplication, sophisticated ones. In some audit procedures, it's not mainly only like multiplication. They also use some statistical tools. Okay, so your favorite. Is it your favorite? You have statistics now. Okay. I know that's your favorite. No, it never happens. Alright, anyway, in audit, you may be using those statistical tools like those averaging, standard deviation, okay? Normal distribution, these things. Okay? So at least use it outliers. Okay? Don't worry, I'm not also good at statistics. Whenever I want to ask statistics, I go to Google first, okay? Or ChatGPT na. Okay? Calculation is, I don't know what having to do with statistics. Anyway, but the interpretation I can. If I've seen the result of the calculation, I can interpret. Okay? But doing it in procedure, I don't know. Maybe I have to refresh my statistical lessons before. But that's how they do it. Regression analysis also what they will perform. Okay? Just to find out what is really happening with the sales. So what are the assertions affected by sales or affected under sales? We have components, as I mentioned a while ago. We need to find out whether the sales really happen. Okay, clear, huh? So our focus or aim there is, they are recording so many sales here. Will that actually, or are those sales really happen? So we have to check. Accuracy, that's basic. We need to know if the calculation is correct. Okay? Whether the amount recorded is appropriate. And then cutoff, I give an example about cutoff. Okay? There might be temptation of recognizing revenue in advance. Okay? So cutoff. Ensuring that sales are recorded in the correct reporting period. I already mentioned that. Another important assertion is completeness. Okay? But completeness is not really a big issue here. Why? Same thing that I mentioned to you in liability. Okay? In liability, most of the time, unintentionally, we forgot that we owe someone. Unintentionally, intentionally, that's different. Unintentionally, we forgot that we owe someone, right? But when it comes to collection, we tend to remember. Hey, you owe me 10 ina, I forgot that. Okay, clear? Same with sales. Most likely, as the sale happens, most likely the client will recognize the sale. Clear? So completeness is not really a big issue here. Although you can still focus on that, put some emphasis on completeness, but it's not really a big issue. Why? Because revenue, if it happens, automatically you recognize it, right? Correct? So if it happens, record. So completeness is not really a main issue. Okay? Okay, so significant revenue categories, we have sales revenue, interest income, and then dividend income. So in dividend income, it's just a simple method or audit procedure that you can do is to vouch that amount, dividend income presented in financial statements, vouch to the bank account. Because if you invested money to companies, the companies will pay you and deposit that money to your bank account. Okay? It's not like they will come to your house and then dividend. It's not, it will not happen. If you invested money nowadays, if you invested money to the company, if they declare dividend, they will deposit into your bank account. So to test dividend income recorded in your client financial report, just check the bank account. Simple. Okay, clear? Interest income, of course, that will be based on calculation. Okay? Your business mathematics. Okay, next. Yeah. Okay, audit and service revenue, almost the same, okay? Almost the same. So here, our focus will be verification of stage of completion and revenue, recognition timing. I think I gave an example a while ago about construction. Okay? The construction accounting you will study in financial reporting. Okay? So, percentage of completion, zero base, completed contract basis or zero base. Now, interest income, so your audit procedure is to do or perform a calculation. Simple as that. The calculation of the interest. Okay? Dividend, I already mentioned, you can vouch dividend, okay, and check check it too, or check the dividends included in bank account. All right. So if overall, this is overall, okay? Overall, with regards to revenue, occurrence is important and accuracy. I think that I mentioned a while ago. This is like an overall approach. Next. Okay, cost of sales and expenses. So there's another side of the income statement. Alright, so your main aim is to obtain an assurance that the client is not tempted to understate the expenses. Okay, so in revenue, our view there is they may have manipulated the figures, okay? Possibility of manipulation of figures to increase the sale. Here, opposite. They may have understated the expenses. Okay? So that is your main aim, just to check whether they are not understating the expenses. Okay? So three major assertions here: accuracy, completeness, and also cutoff. I'll explain one by one. Now in accuracy, as I mentioned, the same thing with sales. They may be tempted to change the figures. Okay. Anyway, this is on the report. So as an auditor, you need to check vouch items, okay, that will eventually be part of the expenses. So you can verify documents like invoices and receipts, okay, by reference to contracts. Now cut-off, this is opposite of what will happen with sales. In cut-off, they may delay the recognition of expense. Unlike in sales, what might happen in sales is that they may advance the recognition of revenue. In expense, they may delay the recognition of expenses. So they may move it to the next period. So your goal as an auditor is to determine whether the expenses, even the revenue, is reported on the appropriate period. Okay, clear? So clear on that? That's the main aim. Now, classification, I already mentioned about classification. It just have to ensure that the expenses that they are reporting is classified properly, okay, or included in the right category, I can say. Occurrence is less significant for expenses because it is the opposite of revenue. In revenue, most likely you will what? You will recognize. So if as soon as you recognize, you will report. Okay, correct? Recognize, put it in journal. Here, occurrence is not really a significant one. Why? Because if you ask me, it's better not to recognize expenses. Am I correct? In that way, it's better not to recognize. But occurrence here is saying all the expenses that they reported had occurred or happened. So which means this is not really a big assertion that you need to test. But completeness is the one. What is the completeness? Completeness is where you are determining whether all the transactions that had happened have been recorded. Okay. This one is the opposite. All the transactions that had been recorded occurred or happened. So that's the opposite. So occurrence is not a significant assertion that you need to test. Here, completeness will be the one. Clear? Okay. As you can see, this is the overall objectives of payout costs and expenses. So costs applicable to the future periods are correctly carried forward, especially on inventory increase. Completeness, all current period costs are included. So which means all those expenses that are supposed to be included this period have been recorded this period. Okay. Presentation, properly described and disclosed in the financial notes. Okay, just want to emphasize that completeness is the major assertion that we need to test here. Same with liability. Okay. Alright, so just addition, okay, substantive analytical procedure. We already knew this. It's more of relationships, okay, or expectations. Now, focusing on audit evidence. Remember on reliability. Okay? So you have to review the reliability, okay, hierarchy, or persuasiveness of evidence, okay, discussion. So example here, documentary evidence will be more reliable than, paper-based evidence is more reliable than oral or verbal representation. Another one is direct evidence is more reliable than the one obtained indirectly. Okay? Alright, so we already have this. Alright, so last slide for today, so the second to the last. Okay, handling errors and exceptions. Take note, this is important also when you're doing the audit. When you perform steps or audit procedures, there might be some exceptions. Exceptions cannot be used as like a concrete proof that there is something wrong. When you say exceptions, out of maybe 100,000 transactions, there is one who went outside of the normal process. So that is what we call exceptions. Okay. Now, what we will do as an auditor is to, okay, you already have audited this part, this exception, you perform a different audit procedure. Okay, might be because of the audit procedure that we use, it doesn't really provide an accurate reporting. Okay. All right, so this is the shortest topic, okay, for this this unit. Okay. So as an overall conclusion, substantive testing of income statements requires mix of detailed vouching and high-level analysis. As I already mentioned about vouching a while ago. Okay, so effective auditing ensures that all revenue and expenses are materially correct and properly disclosed. Okay, but before we end our discussion, I forgot to mention this. This is important, and I think I missed this one in this presentation. Okay. So when you're checking completeness, what you're doing is here is you start from main books. Of course, that includes general ledger, journals, etc. And then you are vouching, okay, going to source document. Okay, so it includes invoices, receipts, etc. So am I clear on this? So if you're testing the completeness, so you start from the main books, you vouch it to source documents. Now in testing existence and occurrence, so that will be from source document going to main books. Okay, going to main books. So here what you're doing is tracing. So when you're doing this, so what you're doing is from source document, you are placing the source document like receipts here, checking or invoices, checking to ledger or journals. Okay. So clear on this? Okay. So that's this. I forgot to include this in the presentation. I just realized that it's missing. This is practically the one that you know as test of details. Because test of details focusing on the documents. Those evidences hard documents or hard proof, okay, of the transaction. So this is basically the test of details. Right, that's the end of the session.